and welcome to this Coding Superstars workshop, Perfect Poetry Generator, where in this workshop we're going to use the Microbit website to be able to code our own microbit so that it makes our own poems. In this session, we will go through how you can use arrays to be able to randomly generate a poem that can be displayed on the microbit. As always with these videos, you can pause, rewind and fast forward to the parts that you need. So let's get started and write some poetry using our microbits. So let's get started. I am using my iPad today to be able to access the Microbit website using Safari. You can access the Microbit website, microbit.org, on any device that has an internet connection. So you can use a laptop, a desktop, an Android tablet, an iPad, a Chromebook, or even a phone. And when you go onto the Microbit website, it looks like this. And previously when we've had a look, we've gone through and looked at the Let's Code section. But today, the project that we're doing today is actually in the Projects tab at the top. And you can see that in here, there are literally hundreds of different things that you can do with your microbit. And one of the ones we are doing today is the Perfect Poetry Generator. This is a way of being able to create random poems using your microbit and display the words on your screen. And there it is there. So if we tap on here, it will go through and show you what it is, what you'll learn, how we'll be able to use arrays, which are a very special type of variable, and then what you would need, and then the code at the bottom here. So I'm going to go back to the top of the screen and go to the Let's Code button. It's then going to say, where do I want to be able to do my programming? So I'm going to tap on Let's Code and go into the Make Code Editor. I'm going to start a new project and call it Poetry. And then it's going to bring up my screen here for me. And the great thing about it is it has your microbit on the left-hand side, all of your coding blocks in the middle, and then your workspace there on the right-hand side. Now I'm just going to take the forever block and just pop it into the bin by hovering over. And that's going to allow me to be able to start to do my code. Now the way that this works is that we need to be able to choose some different words to be able to put in an order to be able to create a poem. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to come to variables and create 4 variables. So the first one I'm going to do is adjective. The next one I'm going to do is noun. The next one I'm going to do is verb, which is our doing word. And then the next one I'm going to create is adverb. And these are all of the different types of variables and types of words we're going to use to create our poem. Now, what I want to be able to do now is I want to be able to add in my words into my different categories here of adjectives, nouns, verbs and adverbs. So to do that, I'm just going to come into the advanced section and go to arrays. And now I have the list that I want to be able to do, and it's the second block down here. And if I tap on there, I'm just going to drag it across into my workspace. And I'm going to choose the first one, which is adjective. And in here now, I'm going to put in some adjectives. So the first one I might put in as beautiful. The next one in B, I might want to put this in here as delicate. And then the next one in C, I'm going to pop in as bright. Now I'm just using the ones from the example on the Microbit website. You can choose whichever words you want to. And I've just changed my screen there just so it's a little bit smaller, just so you can be able to see all of those different words on there. And you can do that by the little plus and minus button at the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap on that block and I'm going to long press and press duplicate. And then this time I'm just going to change this one to noun. Okay, so these are the names of things that are going to be in my poem. So in here I'm going to type in bird. I'm going to do butterfly. and then I'm going to do dragonfly. There we go. Then I'm going to duplicate that block again. This time I'm going to do verbs. So I'm going to long press, choose my drop down to verb, and then in here I'm going to put in eats, flies, and flutters. And then the last one that I'm going to duplicate is going to be the adverb. So how my animal is going to be moving. So let's do the drop down to adverb. And then let's change these to swiftly. Let's change this one to silently. And then the last one on the website was skillfully. There we go. So now we've got all of those different words ready to be able to create our poem. But at the minute, if I press my play button, nothing's actually happening because the words in the on start block have been put in, but we don't actually have anything kind of pulling that through. So what we need to do is we need to come up to an input block and we need to be able to say on shake. Now you can do this when button A is pressed if you want to, or button B, but let's just do it for on shake. And then what I want to do is I want to be able to go to the basic block at the top and then have the block that says show string. Now at the minute it's going to say hello because that's what's in the white block. But what we need to do is we need to be able to get our program to choose one of the adjectives from the list at the top. So to do that, let's go into arrays and we can now see we've got all of these different buttons here that we've got. And we're looking for the fifth one down that says list get value at 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap on this and choose adjective because that's the first one in my list. And then I want to be able to get it to choose one of those 3 words. So let's go into the maths block and let's go down and choose pick random. Now at the minute it says 0 to 10, but we don't have that number of words. We have 3 words there. And if you think of them in boxes, beautiful can go in block 0, delicate can go in block 1, and bright can go in box 2. So I'm going to change this now to 0 to 2. Okay, and then I can drop that in there. And what that then does is, it then will say, right, I'm going to choose, when I shake my microbit, it's going to choose one of those words at random. So the first one it has chosen for me there is delicate. Perfect. But then it stops because we haven't done that for the rest of our poem. So just like we did before, if we long press and duplicate, we can then change that to noun. Then we can do the next one down, duplicate that one and change that into verb. And then we can do the last one, which is then adverb. And you'll see that it's following the same pattern as what is above in the on start block. So now when I shake my microbit, I'm now getting bright. And let's see if it works. Let's see if it goes into the nouns. Bright dragonfly. Excellent. So this is now working and it's going through my arrays and finding those words at random. So then it's going to go, is it flies, not flutters? It's going to go to flies. So my bright dragonfly flies swiftly. Perfect. Then we can write that down as a list in our poem and then we can do it again and again and change our poems. Now, the great thing is that you can edit this to write whatever kind of poem you want to. You could do something based on the cat sat on the mat and have the, my, I as the top set of words. They don't just have to be adjectives, nouns, verbs and adverbs, even in that order. You can set it up whichever way you want to. And let's have a look at an example that came up in the session. So one of our young people who attended our workshop said they love doing acrostic poems, and that's a great one that you can do using your microbit. So let's go to the top and press microbit and go to new project, and this time I'm going to call mine acrostic poem. Now an acrostic poem is a poem where the words start with the first letter of what you're spelling out. So say, for example, I wanted to write an acrostic poem about summer. The first line of my poem would start with an S. Then the second line of my poem would start with a U. And the third and fourth would start with an M. The fifth would start with an E. And the last one would start with an R. And you can either do it with words or sentences. So when we were in the workshop, I thought, wouldn't this be a great one to do with your microbit? So I've put my forever block in the bin. And then I'm going to start by getting my arrays. Now I'm going to go in and get my variables because I need my variables to be able to put my words in my array. So let's go into there and start. So I'm going to use my little girl's name, which is Daisy. So I'm going to put a variable in for D, A, I, S, Y. Now, the tricky thing is that when you now do this, Microbit now puts it in alphabetical order, which isn't very helpful because that's not how you spell Daisy's name. But now we've got our variables, now we can start to write our arrays. So let's go to our block that we need. So remember, we're going to go to arrays and we're going to choose the second one down and we're going to drop that in there. So the first one is D, D for Daisy. And I'm going to type in here, I'm going to type in just 3 words. Now you can choose more than 3 words if you want to, or I will show you in a minute what happens if you can't think of 3 words, because for some letters it's really tricky, definitely like Y. So let me just build these in. So I've got dreamy there, delightful and determined. I'm going to now duplicate my block by, remember, long pressing, popping it on there and choosing my A. So all of these words now need to start with an A. So let's go with awesome. Let's go with amazing. And at the minute she's going through a drawing phase. So let me go with artistic. Okay. Then we tap on the block. We long press and get duplicate. And then we can go in and choose I, which is the next one. And then I can go in and do incredible. I can do imaginative. And you can think of as many words as you want to. Inspiring, there we go. And if you can think of more words, you can press the add button at the end of the orange block and add in more words if you wanted to. So I need 2 more rows of this block. So I need a row of S. So in this one, I'm going to go, sassy, definitely, as an 8-year-old going on 28. Then I'm going to go sensational and sincere. You could put silly in, you could make these funny, you could make them whichever way you want to. So the last one I'm going to put in is, if I press and duplicate, is a Y. Now I struggled with Y to try and think of some words. So I got youthful, I even did a search on Google and then did yummy. But then I was struggling after that. So I'm just going to press the minus button at the end here, and that's just going to get rid of one of my options. Okay, so I can tap on that one and get rid of that one. So now I only have 2, which is fine, and I'll explain why in a minute. So now we need the on shake block, so let's do that. And now we're going to pull in that show string block from the basic blocks, and remember then we need to go down to the arrays button and get the 5th one down, get list value at, and we drop that in there. Now, so this one, it's saying now we've got a problem because we don't have lists in our variables, which is fine because we can go in here now and change that to D. and then the problem will then disappear just like that. So remember, we need to have our picking random word block, don't we? And that's in our maths block. And we're just going to come down, so it's pick random. Now, we're going to change this 0 to 2, because remember, one word sits in the 0 box, one word sits in the 1 box, and one word sits on the 2 box, okay, because we've got 3 words. I'm going to duplicate all of these blocks now, and then literally just change the letter at the beginning. So D, A, I, S, Y. But when I come to Y, there's a difference with this one, because I only have 2 words. I only have youthful and yummy. So what I'm going to do is I can't have 0 to 2 because I only have 2 spaces. And that's going to be 0 and 1. So I can change this one here now to a 1. So when it's going to change that random one, it's going to just choose youthful or yummy, 0 or 1. Where if it's going to do the S, it's going to do sassy, sensational and sincere. So that's 0, 1 or 2, because there's 3 things there. So let's do a shake and see what it comes out for Daisy. So Daisy is determined. Daisy is, what's the A going to be? Daisy is awesome. So it's gone 1, then it's gone to 0. Let's see where it's going to go for I. Incredible. So that's gone to the 0 again. So you can see the random nature of it all. Let's go to S. What she's got. So she's going to be determined, awesome, incredible. She is sensational. And then is she going to be youthful or yummy? Let's see if it's managed to do that between 0 and 1. So it's gone youthful. Perfect. Now, how lovely would it be if you could make poems about your friends and family using that acrostic? And remember, what you can also do is you can also add in other things into your microbits. So if you've been into one of our other sessions before, or you've watched one of our microbit videos, why not add in an animation at the beginning? So for example, you might want to just put in a picture of a heart at the beginning and at the end, or you might even want to be able to put a little animation in first, so that when I shake it, there we go, there's the heart, and to prove it's random, this time it's chosen dreamy. So that's just going to play out there. So why not have a go at creating your own poems? And remember, with Microbit, it saves all of your projects automatically. So if you wanted to go back into your poetry one and you wanted to change some of the animals, for example, or some of the adjectives, then you can. You can literally go in and change that straight away. And we can't wait to see what kind of poems you are managing to create with your Microbit. We can't wait to see what you have created. So why not share it with us? Go on to the Showbie app, put in this class code, and you will be able to access our Discover Digital Learning Zone Showbie account. This is where you can share all of your amazing creations with us, and we can have a look at them here at Family Fund and give you some well-deserved feedback. We can't wait to see what you create.